Hey everybody, welcome back to Chipstock Investor. Quick update on Broadcom. They just had their earnings on the 12th of December. Let's break it down. It was great. End of story. Video over.
It won't be that brief, but this will be a short one because you're going to hear more about Broadcom in another video, maybe in about another week or so. We're doing some more videos wrapping up 2024 and providing you with some guidance on what we're looking at for 2025. And of course, Broadcom will very much be a very large part of that conversation once again. So Casey, I think we need to introduce Broadcom's earnings by talking about where we're at in the end market cycle for the semiconductor industry.
Yeah, the story for Broadcom, not a lot different than any of the other semiconductor companies that we've been talking about. AI and accelerated computing infrastructure is the biggest growth driver. In fact, when we break down the revenue, you'll see that AI networking revenue was 76% of their total networking portion of their business, the biggest segment for Broadcom. But all of those other categories, consumer, enterprise, auto and industrial, all of them have been at the bottom of a cycle, but are shaping up to come out of that bottom and begin a new growth cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And auto and industrial, the worst performer in 2024, that recovery getting delayed, but that is a very small segment for Broadcom overall, which you'll see in this next slide that we put together for you. And so let's just knock that one out first. Broadcom breaks out its revenue in two broad segments: semiconductors, which are roughly 60% of sales, and infrastructure software at about 40%. So the last line item under the semiconductor segment, industrial. That segment is still in decline on a year-over-year basis, although it is recovering sequentially. And the expectation is it will overall kind of continue that recovery, especially the second half of 2025, in line with the rest of the other semiconductor businesses we talked about in our last video reviewing our 2024 chip stock picks that we did at the start of 2024. So check that out. But that's only 1% of Broadcom's total revenue is that industrial segment. Let's talk about the big, giant, very important business here, networking. What exactly is that?
For some full coverage on what exactly that networking portion covers, we'll link a video that we did earlier this year on the interconnect layer between GPUs. That's primarily, you can think about the Jericho AI chip or the Tomahawk, those two chips moving data between GPUs. Networking came in at $4.5 billion in Q4, 45% year-over-year growth. And in Q1 fiscal 2025, the AI portion of that revenue in networking is expected to grow another 65% year-over-year.
Yeah, and that's really significant, obviously, considering that 76% of that segment, of the networking segment overall, is now AI networking. And what's notable, even more notable about this, is Broadcom still hasn't even begun ramping its next-gen custom AI chips, or the XPU. You'll often hear these things called the custom ASIC, application-specific integrated circuit. That's for especially Google's TPU. The next-gen version of that on the 3-nanometer node at TSMC won't even begin ramping until the second half of this next fiscal year. So this is a really impressive standout segment that is the driving force for Broadcom going forward.
All those other segments, wireless, storage, connectivity, broadband, and even industrial, currently down, but expecting recovery in 2025. Let's focus on the infrastructure software segment for just a moment. VMware has been included in that segment. That deal went through earlier this year, and now it's completely integrated into Broadcom. The revenue for this quarter was flat with the revenue for last quarter, came in at $5.8 billion, but they do expect that to go up to $6.5 billion or 41% growth year over year in Q1 2025.
Yeah, there's a ton of noise still about the VMware deal, a lot of changes that Broadcom has made. Yep, it's unpopular, but let's face it, folks, if you knew anything about VMware prior to Broadcom making its acquisition, it's not like VMware was like this top managed cloud software stock. It needed a lot of help. And of course, helping VMware become more profitable means, customers are going to have to pay more obviously. That's going to be an unpopular thing when those customers that have probably been underpaying for the service, a very, very valuable and you could say critical, absolutely basic service to manage cloud and data center environments these days in VMware. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. It's going to continue to be really noisy, but at this point, we don't yet see any reason to be overly concerned with how Broadcom has been handling VMware. Of course, longer term, there can be issues. We'll just keep monitoring the situation and we'll go from here. Pretty solid first year though.
Going from 8,000 SKUs or products to 4. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, 8,000 SKUs for a software as a service company, software as a service provider is
completely
insane.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, totally insane. This is not Texas Instruments. It's software. Just bundle the services up and yeah.
Like cable.
Yeah, everybody loves cable, right? Anyways.
Let's talk about their free cash flow because Broadcom's free cash flow is rising. Before we continue, want to give a quick shout out to our friends and sponsor of today's video at finchat.io.
You've probably become very familiar with charts like this one that we've embedded into our research process. Finchat.io provides a complete software suite, everything you need to analyze a business, including a lot of tools that you need to analyze a business and a stock as if you were a business owner. That is a really powerful capability to be able to turn off some of the noisy metrics that surround stock prices and stock price metrics and profitability metrics and just simply look at businesses like Broadcom as if you were an owner of the business, which if you own Broadcom stock, that's exactly what you are.
FinChat also has a great co-pilot feature that helps you understand and analyze businesses at their segments. They have KPIs or key performance indicators, all of the earnings calls transcripts. You can listen to the earnings call if you want to. Fantastic service that we use every day here at Chipstock Investor. You can get 15% off any paid plan with the link in the description below. Check it out, 15% off any paid plan, finchat.io/CSI. What are they going to do with all of that free cash flow?
Yeah, we're looking at, over this last year with the inclusion of VMware, a bit of sluggish performance in free cash flow growth this year. It's because there's lots of integration expenses that needed to be made after that acquisition just over a year ago. But we actually think 2025 is when Broadcom will really start generating some serious free cash flow from VMware now that the integration is mostly finished. And then, of course, you add in coming growth from the whole AI segment and the recovery of the rest of the semiconductor business. We think Wall Street is still not completely clear on how much free cash flow exactly Broadcom can bring in 2025. But we're actually thinking something in the ballpark of 30 to 35 billion in free cash flow for our estimate personally here based on what we're seeing for the business.
You may be wondering what they're going to be using all that free cash flow for. Look at the big red bar. That's Broadcom's long-term debt, around $66 billion currently. They need to start paying that down.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And they said that is one thing that they will continue to do in 2025. They have been paying this debt down. A lot of it came from that VMware purchase. And so we're happy to hear that they will be using some of that excess cash they expect to bring that balance down. We'd be really, really happy if they get this under 60 billion and really, really happy if they get it pushed closer to 50 billion over the course of the next couple of years. That said, some of the expected free cash flow growth is also going towards dividends. The CEO Hock Tan and the management team just increased the quarterly dividend payout by 11%. That also kind of indicates management seeing some coming strength in their ability to convert revenue into cash in the next year. Yeah, just to reiterate, we're thinking somewhere in the ballpark of 30 to 35 billion in free cash flow in 2025. Big numbers, big free cash flow profit margins, but 50% is kind of the free cash flow profit margin benchmark that Broadcom had gotten itself to prior to the VMware acquisition. And so we see no reason why they can't get back to that over the course of 2025 and 2026.
We've had Broadcom stock for a number of years at this point. It's one of our largest holdings, and we have nibbled on it throughout this year, as we've stated in multiple videos. We'll be talking about this more as we go into 2025, whether or not it's a top stock pick for us here at Chipstock Investor in 2025.
Yeah. Foreshadowing. We're not going to hang our hat on the serviceable addressable market prediction for the AI chips through 2027, but we think CEO Hock Tan typically doesn't make projections like that. So it seems notable that he would say that. I guess that's where we'll leave you with. Stay tuned for more.
Make sure you hit the subscribe button, share the video with your friends, hit that like button. And if you're interested, check out our Semiconductor Insider membership. The link to that is in the video description below. It's on our Ko-fi page. Check that out. Just $5 a month for a couple more weeks. See y'all soon at Chipstock Investor.